Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Iowa soccer supporters. I'm Ben Brackett, your Soccer Talk co-host, alongside my good buddy Blake Sievers. Siebes, what's up?
Good morning, Ben. Early morning pod. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're in it. I am glad to be here. Got a big day ahead of us. But right now we're focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is high school soccer. Pretty exciting time. Mostly because the weather turned, right, weatherman?
It is. It's turned the right way.
Sounds like somebody's got a little seasonal allergies. Holy smokes.
I didn't do my my voice check, my warm-ups there.
I need to remember to do that when I go home. Get some Zyrtec in me so I don't die later. But yeah, it's we kind of skipped apparently from like winter to summer, just like this week. Which is a bit of a shock, but I guess we live in Iowa, so we should know better. And it coincided with things heating up a little bit in the state tournament too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about the turning of the seasons, but also the Substate brackets all got released for the boys and girls, and so we kind of want to talk about that. And
yeah, in lieu of game of the week this week, I figured it was worth some discussion. That being said, some things like like 1A region 1, which appears to be western Iowa. I must say we don't know a ton about that, but we're just going to kind of run through, give everybody a little recognition where it's due.
Girls side we're starting with.
That's correct. We're going to start with ladies first. And so yeah, let's just maybe get into it. So region 1.
Are you going to list every single team and every single?
No, what I was going to do.
Substate. I'm just curious.
When we get to, we'll probably go into a little more detail as we go. What I was going to do is just talk a little bit about like who the top teams were in the girls 1A, and then just maybe highlight any central Iowa teams if we could.
Sounds good. I was just curious. Our planning, our pre-pod meeting.
We didn't cover that. So what I guess what's interesting to me, if you go straight out of the gate, is these 1A teams. They're going to play teams of all different divisions, right? Just to get games, because a lot of times it's probably difficult, right? Otherwise they have to travel. So straight out of the gate, Davenport Assumption is ranked number 1, but they are 7-5, meaning 7 wins and 5 losses. So to me, that's it's kind of crazy. What do you think about that, Siebes?
Well, yeah, I mean, Davenport Assumption, I think maybe a little outlier too. They are the traditionally the power school there on the 1A side and have won multiple state titles over the years, but clearly, right, kind of a Quad Cities area, playing obviously some bigger schools in class 3A on the girls side.
Yeah, so some other Central Iowa schools, not that Assumption is, but some Central Iowa schools that we'll highlight are Nevada, who's currently ranked 8th going into this week 7 that we're at, and then Des Moines Christian also rounding out. They're ranked number 15th. So I'm going to try to pull up here quickly who these folks. Yeah, so Des Moines Christian will play the winner of Nottoway Valley and Greene County in their Substate. That'll put them in their Substate quarterfinal. No, I'm sorry, Substate semifinal. And then they'll, if they win, they take on the winner of Panorama and Kemper Catholic. And the other side of the bracket, gosh, there's a bunch of places I've never even heard of.
Yeah, I think just to get Des Moines Christian clearly, right, we saw them play against North a few weeks ago. I think if they don't make the state tournament, they're going to be one of the more disappointing schools on the 1A side.
I would agree with that. Let's move on to 2A, Blake.
Okay. You want to talk just about so again, let's plug Varsity Bound really quick, because Bound, I think, is now technically what it's called, but super cool ranking system that they have, where they kind of it's like a power rankings almost. So where they have all the stats, all the rosters, and then their little formula where they rank, which is pretty cool. You can, yeah.
Yeah, so girls side, we've got definitely a bit more of a Central Iowa feel, don't we?
Yeah, and I mean, Norwalk, you see all over social media, they've done a pretty good job. They're all over the place as far as marketing and promoting their team, and I think they played Valley the other day, the number 1 2A against the number 1 3A, ended up on the wrong side of that result, but pretty cool to see those two powerhouses, traditional powerhouses, playing each other in the regular season.
Yeah, I was talking to Casey Kroll about that the other day, and he was pretty excited for his Norwalk girls down there. Also, Dallas Center Grimes, currently undefeated and ranked number 1 in 2A. And then as we go through, I see a North Polk ranked number 9, Carlisle ranked 11th, ADM and Bondurant ranked 13th and 14th respectively. So a really strong Central Iowa presence. But what that definitely means is we'll see some Central Iowa girls teams probably at the state tournament. The question is if any of them have to play each other to get there. From what I see, it looks like North Polk and Bondurant Farrar are in the same bracket ultimately. So hopefully one of them will get out of that.
This one is good, I think.
This
DCG Carlisle. Carlisle has that Ainsley Arizin, I think, going to Arkansas, right, to play. And then DCG, I think, is still undefeated on the season. So you would expect those two to meet in the final to see who makes it to county.
Yep. And interesting here, Steves. You notice here that Hoover,
here nobody can, I don't think,
well,
see.
no, I'm saying you. I'm pointing to you, and then we were going to tell them.
Okay.
So you notice here it says that Hoover and Winterset play, and then the winner plays Carlisle. So interesting that Des Moines Hoover is playing in the 2A girls. I guess I'd want to know more about that. Norwalk in the Region 5 could take Pella, our friends down in Pella, in the final there. And then I think that's kind of all we've got from Central Iowa at this point. But
yeah, you have your Waverly, Shell Rock, and one. You'd expect them to go again. They're there every year, it seems like, and then Xavier as well from the Saints. Seem like they're competing every year at county. Should you want to get into the big schools now? Or we've seen a few of those games.
Yeah, we at least we talk a little bit about it, right? And and we have a pretty strong Central Iowa presence here as well, right? So you've got Valley ranked number 1, Waukee Northwest ranked number 30, Ankeny Centennial, who we saw play just the other day, and Ankeny ranked 6th and 7th respectively. Ames is 11th, Johnston 13th, Roosevelt 14th, Dowling 15th. So you've got a lot of action in Central Iowa. We'll definitely be seeing some of those schools at the state tournament. Pretty exciting. What, Blake, you've seen at least a couple of these girls teams play. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, as you go through these substates, I think the first few are pretty, pretty heavy favorites. You got Council Bluffs, Lincoln, like you said, was ranked in the top 5. They're in kind of their own substate. Then you've got Valley in their own, Centennial in their own. You maybe get to one Ankeny, the Hawkettes against Cedar Falls. Cedar Falls has only lost 3 games on the season at this point.
Yeah, and that's Region 4.
Yeah, so you may have a little battle there, but then where I think the real intrigue comes in. Yeah, it is. You got JP and the Dowling Catholic, which I think that clearly has been told we have to start saying Catholic because nobody knew Dowling was a Catholic school. But
so they're on one side of the Region 5 bracket, and then the other side is Roosevelt and Waukee. So that'll be a good matchup. And then obviously, let's just assume it's maybe Dowling and Roosevelt in the sub-state final. That should be an exciting game.
It's probably like you said, the group of death. That's clearly the most difficult sub-state, I think, fair to say, because then you get into it like we just talked about, right, Ben? You got Waukee Northwest in their own sub-state where they're only lost a game. Lynn Mars only lost 2 games in Region 7. And then you end it with Pleasant Valley, Eastern Side, which it may be there's no real powerhouse there, but record wise at least. So we'll see what happens.
So I think before we even start talking too much about the boys side, I think it's just really interesting the difference between the way the girls and the boys do their sub-states. So we're flipping through right now and scrolling through the actual brackets. So it'll show like who's doing the playing game and, what time and where already. It's already set in stone at this point, 2 weeks out, right? So Additionally, which is also very interesting, like let's just use this region 6 as an example. Waukee Northwest and Ottumwa are on the top end of the bracket. And you could say, okay, Ottumwa's sort of central Iowa-ish, fine. But the other side of the bracket is Cedar Rapids, Kennedy, Cedar Rapids, Jefferson, and Iowa City High. So ultimately, one of those 3 teams, after they decide who's going to be the best of the 3, they're going to actually travel all the way to Waukee to play in the Substate final. Whereas the boys seemingly try to make it a little bit more regional. And I don't know, we'll talk about that a little bit here in a second, just because to me, it's very curious how it works.
Yeah, I think we had our coaches roundtable. There's a plug for another pod that we did earlier this year. But remember, a lot of the coaches said that they would rather travel to play and get the best teams from 8 teams in the state, as opposed to having the best Western Iowa, having the best Eastern, having the best North Central. Let's get the best teams, whether we have to travel or not, in those sub-state regional pairings.
Yeah, we'll circle back to that when we start talking about the boys 3A stuff. One, because it's what we know most about, but 2, I think it's probably also where it's most obvious, the difference. So let's talk about the 1A pairings here for the boys real quick. Blake, what do you think? So it's not a lot of central Iowa action on the boys side. We've got Nevada ranked number 8. I'm on the right side. We just had to look.
Yeah, one thing while you do that, I think one thing to find interesting is there's a lot more schools in 1A than there are in 3A. So I think, I'm sure somebody will correct us if this is wrong, but I think they've, as they divide the 1A, 2A, 3A schools, they clearly put a few more in class 1A than class 3A, because each sub-state has easily 8 teams.
Yep. So teams to be thinking about for one, I think it's really very similar, right? For the boys and the girls. So both those, the Nevada team and that Des Moines Christian team, are going to be looking to make some noise. And those are really our central Iowa.
And they're in the same sub-state.
Are they really?
Yeah,
of course.
With Van Meter, our friends, the Waldrons over there at Van Meter.
Yeah. Oh, so that's going to be a tough road for them. I'm just kind of running through this. Greene County too. That's another central Iowa. And so this, again, I guess this goes to the geography of it all, right? So you've got all these central Iowa squads kind of bunched together. And so only, in theory, one of them will, well, not in theory, only one of them will have the opportunity to go. So, but class 1A might make a little more sense to, the travel budgets are probably a little different, aren't they?
Yeah. So let's jump into 2A.
Yeah, sounds good.
So 2A last year on the boys side, at least, had a heavy central Iowa presence. Bondurant, Farrar making a little run there. DCG was involved, I think, ADM as well. So I don't know, do you want to start in the rankings, Ben, or do you want to talk about the substates? What direction do you want to go here? Again, our pre-pod meeting.
Yeah, that's a good question. No, let's just start with the rankings. So 2A, where's Humboldt? Like, seems like something you would know. They're undefeated, ranked number 1. In addition to being our resident weatherman. Well, I guess you're not that good at geography because you're Googling it. So while you're doing that, I will talk about the Central Iowa teams. So we've got Dow Center Grimes is ranked 2nd. They're 12-2 at this point in the season. You've got Bondurant, Farrar, again, like we talked about. Pella in ranked number 9. Perry, they're at number 13. So you've got some Central Iowa teams that should make it to the tournament. But when you look at the sub-state pairings, I'm just trying to see if there's any real conflicts there. What do you see, Siebes? Anything?
Not a whole lot. Again, it's interesting, like you had mentioned, with the girls' side, is already have their stuff, their games and bracket posted. They're Solon, I think, was ranked at least a week or two ago. They're in the same one as Bondurant. I guess they come in at 15, kind of a dark horse maybe there for Bondurant. But otherwise, again, you would expect Xavier to come out of Substate 3, wouldn't you? Just with it being their traditional power.
Yep.
You got Pella Pella was ranked the top 5. They all season, you'd think they'd come out of Substate 6. Defending champion Lewis Central, was it last year or 2 years ago they won it?
2 years ago.
They're down there, and I don't know. I
But
think
they are ranked number 4, so I would expect they'll make a move coming out of Substate 8. Substate 7 is DCG, probably comes out of that, but Carlisle also in there, so that'll probably be the big matchup.
Same
there.
thing on the boys girls a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah.
You would expect those two to meet in the final to go see who goes to state.
Yeah, but again, that's what I think. As we transition into the 3A stuff, that's kind of where it's. I don't know if it's too bad or what, but like somebody like Carlisle, let's just say, traditionally not as strong as DCG, right? DCG is a basically just like a little bit larger populated area. But Carlisle, with a chance to make some noise for the first time in a long time, and they're going to go up against DCG. And if they were paired similar to the girls, they wouldn't run into each other until the state tournament. So with that, let's talk about the boys, 3A, where we are probably most knowledgeable. Apologies to the other 5 classes that we've discussed, but we're only 2 people, and yeah, it's true.
Yeah, again, it's I mean, since we've got it, Substate 1 Ankeny, I think, walks through that. You always have those randoms, one of those Sioux City North or East teams will pop up every once in a while, but do you have agree with that, Ben, or what do you think?
Ames is creeping up in the rankings this week. So one thing that I did, just because I was so curious about this, was because the rankings are picked in week 6, rankings are still going to come out another 2 or 3 times, right? I think at least 8 times. So from week 6 to week 7, things change a little bit, and so the teams that are maybe getting a little lucky versus less lucky as far as who they play also adjust. But this week, Ames is ranked 15th. Ankeny dropped in the rankings from 1st to 2nd after their overtime defeat to their crosstown rival Centennial. But I could see Ames being a challenge. Ames is always sort of like and I don't know who coaches Ames these days.
They've got Ryan McGowan up there.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that is right. But back when we played against them in high school, they were always one of those teams that would just find a way to like pack it in and just defend really hard, and they were always really together and tough to beat. So we'll see. Hopefully, for Marcus Varnum's sake, that's not the case. But
Gary Isles, I mean, they've got a good little club up there that has produced volume wise. They got a good number of kids up there that play on the club side.
Yep. So then Substate 2, Central Iowa group here is Lincoln North, Roosevelt, Dowling, Ottumwa, and Waukee Northwest. Waukee Northwest clearly the favorite, 12-1 right now, but that one loss, a bit of an odd anomaly, I guess. The only other team I see is maybe, I guess it'll be interesting because Roosevelt and Dowling are both sort of in that like 15th to 20th ranking range.
Yeah, I mean, Roosevelt just came off a big win over Hoover, though, a week or 2 ago, giving them I think their first or second loss on the season. And then Dowling is Jackson Teeling, like super young group, but super talented as well.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where, again, like this is where I'm so confused by the geography piece versus the ranking piece. Substate 3 is highlighted with Johnston as the number 1 ranked team this week. Your Drags. Who did they beat last week? Somebody good?
Roll Drags beat Marcus and the Hawks over there after their big win over Centennial.
That's right. So big win for Jimmy Frizzell, but interesting to me that then you've got Iowa City High ranked 13th in that group, and then Linn-Mar, Marshalltown, Waterloo East. Like, I just don't quite understand the geography there.
Well, the head of the Iowa High School Soccer Coaches Association is the head coach at Johnston, so maybe could there be some or host?
There you go. I don't know. So then Substate 4, Iowa City West ranked number 7, should be the team that squeaks out of that one. Cedar Falls ranked number 16 is also in that bracket, but that's a Cedar Rapids Wash, Davenport Central, Dubuque, Waterloo West. So Iowa City West is definitely the strongest group there. Definitely historically, right? I mean, they're the kind of team that even ranked 7th or 8th or unranked going into the tournament, like they have a chance to make the final every year, don't they?
Yeah, Styles has been there, done that. That's for sure.
Yep, he's got some sort of special formula, huh? He's a Valley grad though, so Substate 5. This is a bit of a toss-up. Iowa City, Liberty, and Cedar Rapids Prairie ranked 9th and 10th. Toss-up, right?
Yeah. Prairies was had a really good record last year, made it to state. I guess see if Kurt Lewis and his group kind of make it back to county, and you would expect them to play Liberty there in the final to go to the state tournament.
Yep. Substate 6, probably the toughest overall substate path for anybody. You've got Pleasant Valley ranked number 4, but then they're also joined by Muscatine and Bettendorf that are ranked 11th and 13th. I would guess Bettendorf always a tough team to play against again, with the legendary Ben Pennington's program.
Massive rivalry there, Bettendorf, Pleasant Valley. I think if those two play to go to state, defending state champion against your traditional power that's been there all the time, that'd be a good game to go to, I think.
Yeah, and I'd be curious. I haven't done any research into Pleasant Valley, their statistics, but they were pretty impressive at the state tournament. They won all 3 of their games last year, just 1-0, and basically put on a bit of a masterclass in defending as a team. And they had, somebody score a special goal every game, and they were really, really tough to beat. But I don't know that they were really like ranked, or not a ton of people knew of them. And so here we go into this year, and they are flying high and doing well, apparently.
Yeah, and I think they returned 9 of 11 starters or something crazy like that, where it's they have a lot of their boys back. I think Reese Ward was scored maybe the game winner in the final. So he's back. Like you said, they defend like crazy. Old Wayne Ward, the dad, the boss there for Pleasant Valley's got them sorted out, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find goals for and goals against, but I'm not seeing it here. Maybe I'll have to delve into it a little bit further. Let's talk about Substate number 6, Eves.
That's the one
we just talked about. Substate 7, another Central Iowa group. This one's actually probably pretty tough as well. You've got Centennial, Hoover, and then Waukee is in this group as well, in addition to Indianola, Mason City, and Southeast Polk. I would guess those latter 3 are going to struggle. But Centennial, I'm really curious about this Hoover team, because they started out really hot and they lost to Roosevelt recently. You'd think that would be kind of a tough matchup though, Centennial Hoover.
Yeah, and if it's ranked number 12, so clearly, question is like, they must not be playing, sorry, John Rubino, but maybe not the strongest of teams to get that record the way it is, because it's an eye opener a bit, 14-2 at this point.
Yeah, I think that what we can see from the rankings, or at least from what I can tell, like the way that the Ankeny dropped, and Centennial, jumped up a little bit, but not a ton. Johnson, catapulting forward after beating Valley and then Ankeny. Anyway, I just think it's interesting. It makes me confident in this ELO ranking system. I like it.
Yeah, I think we'll find out, right, who actually ends up at the state tournament, if it chalk wins or not.
Yeah. Last final substate number 8. You've got a historical matchup here. Valley and Urbandale, the 2 top ranked teams. Reminds me of back in my day when we would run into them. You've also got 2 Council Bluffs squads, Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson, East and Norwalk. We should probably shout out East on this one. I'm trying to remember what they're ranked. I'd seen them there. I'll look.
It's an interesting substate because you talk Norwalk is now up in 3A. So change for them. They've obviously won multiple state titles down at the 2A level. Valley, I would think it's fair to say, not having a traditional Valley year. And then Urbandale, Darby Wesley's got them flying all over the place, turn that program around, and they are right in the thick of it.
Yeah, and I think just to mention East, I think they're a team that's going to be tough. I think regardless, it's unfortunate if they don't make it to state, because they had a pretty good little group put together. But like as an example, they just lost the other day to Centennial 2-0, which is, not a bad result ultimately, right?
Yeah, and I think
They have a lot of close
they
games.
beat Norwalk for the first time in 5+ years as well. And
Yeah.
so we'll see.
But yeah, and it's looking like that 1-goal game losses to Dowling, Urbandale Valley, 2-goal loss to Waukee. So anyway, we'll see what happens there. Overall, pretty exciting state tournament as far as I can tell. I'm pretty pumped. We're gonna be out there. We're gonna be hot.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how to respond to that.
I don't know, I'm just thinking.
So I guess no, stay tuned for over the next few weeks. Like you said, but only a couple weeks left of the season, and then we get to the games that really matter when you go home.
That's right. Substates games begin when, Steves? Do you know?
Yeah, in a couple weeks.
In a couple weeks. I think it's like May 16th ish is right around that first play date. So that's actually next week. So we shall see. What else you got, Steves?
I think that's it. Just check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Instagrams. Keep sending those goals of the weekend. We had an unbelievable assist that got submitted.
Oh, I love it.
Hopefully that makes the voting stories on Instagram. Keep voting those stories. There's been a couple barn burners as far as vote tallies go the last couple of weeks with some of the goals, plays of the week.
Right on. Thanks, everybody. We'll look forward to chatting with you soon. And if you've got any high school soccer stuff that we should talk about, hit us up.